When we walk into a clinic or a hospital today, we expect a basic assumption. We expect the science being practiced on us is meant to heal our ailments, relieve our pain, and preserve our dignity. History shows us what happens when states possess unchecked authority. When institutions strip away that ethical baseline, medical research morphs into an instrument of conquest. We are going to examine a countdown of 5 historical events where governments and scientific bodies pushed the human body past its physical limits, completely bypassing consent and mercy. These 5 case studies are sequential warnings. They outline the catastrophic cost of removing humanity from the scientific process. Number 5 on this list began in 1932 as an observational study in Tuskegee, Alabama. Hundreds of African-American men were enrolled in what they were told was a medical treatment program. In reality, there was no medical treatment. Researchers actively monitored these men to document the natural physical decay caused by untreated syphilis. By the 1940s, penicillin had become widely available and was recognized globally as a definitive cure for the disease. Yet the doctors actively decided to withhold this medicine from the participants. This pursuit of raw data lasted for 40 years. During that time, participants died from a highly tradable illness, and many unknowingly transmitted the infection to their wives and children. The horror of Tuskegee came from its cold, systemic neglect. It weaponized medical observation by deliberately doing nothing to stop the suffering. Moving from passive neglect to active lethality brings us to number 4, Joseph Stalin's secret poison laboratories. Operating deep within the Soviet security apparatus, this facility had a single objective. Researchers disguised lethal, untraceable chemicals as everyday food and medicine. They administered these compounds to prisoners strictly to document the speed and severity of their organ failure. The scale expands from individual assassinations to industrialized biological warfare, with number 2, the Japanese military's Unit 731, established during World War II. To study how diseases spread through a population, military researchers deliberately infected unwilling prisoners with highly lethal pathogens like plague and cholera. They also tested human endurance against extreme elements. Victims' limbs were frozen solid without anesthesia to mimic military field injuries, allowing doctors to study the tissue damage and test potential thawing treatments. In both the Soviet and Japanese facilities, the victims lost all status as patients. The institutions repurposed human beings into disposable military hardware. The ultimate escalation of state-sponsored experimentation occurred within Nazi concentration camps. Driven by figures like Josef Mengele, science was used to pursue biological supremacy. At Auschwitz, doctors sought the absolute limits of human survival. They locked prisoners inside low-pressure chambers, simulating the extreme oxygen deprivation of high-altitude environments until the subjects suffered fatal internal injuries. Other survival tests involved extreme temperature drops. Victims were completely immersed in freezing water for hours, while researchers calmly recorded their vital signs as severe hypothermia set in. The state's overarching ideology mandated the elimination of specific demographics. To achieve this mechanically, scientists conducted invasive genetic studies on twins and tested mass-forced sterilization procedures. These atrocities were never intended to advance global medical knowledge. Their specific motive was to mathematically optimize the destruction of targeted human populations. When the war ended, the exposure of these scattered, disparate atrocities forced an international reckoning. The sheer volume of state-sponsored cruelty detailed during the post-war trials directly forced the creation of the Nuremberg Code, laying down the first modern international rules for biomedical research. These events led to modern ethical standards, informed consent requirements, and international rules designed to protect human subjects. The medical protections society relies on today were paid for by the victims of history's darkest science. Forgetting how easily institutions abandon morality is the first step toward repeating it.